Naughty Dog, the video game developer, made headlines way back in 2010 when they originally announced that they were gearing up to write and film an Uncharted movie. Obviously, it took quite some time to get it off the ground, but now there's only a few weeks to go before the film hits theaters. However, not everyone is overly thrilled with the choices that the film has made, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the controversial choices that the casting director made and how we think it will affect the film. Stick around because you're not gonna want to miss a second of this video. With all of that out of the way, let's get right into the video. First, Naughty Dog director endorses casting choice. Many fans of the original video game Uncharted were ecstatic when they heard that there was gonna be a feature film based on the game. But many of those same fans were not as excited when they heard the casting choice made for the film's protagonist. If you've never played the games, allow me to fill you in. The main character of the Uncharted franchise is explorer and con man Nathan Drake. Nathan is a fearless, driven, and adventurous treasure hunter who is hell-bent on finding exotic treasure. In the video game, Nathan Drake is roughly 30 years old and around 6'2", possibly 6'3". However, as I'm sure most of you know, the actor chosen to portray Nathan Drake in the Uncharted film was none other than Tom Holland. Now, I love Tom Holland, maybe more than others, but can somebody honestly tell me what the heck the casting director was thinking when they chose a 5'9", 20-something to play a 6'3" middle-aged man? Honestly, this is almost comparable to choosing Millie Bobby Brown to play She-Hulk. The casting was clearly made to sell the film to an audience that has never played the games, and I really don't understand it. Fans of the film were going to see this film either way, so picking an actor that fans didn't even want to portray Nathan Drake in the first place seems like a slap in the face to the fans of the game, and it seems like Naughty Dog had nothing but profits in mind when they picked Tom Holland to play the titular character. But according to the game director over at Naughty Dog Studios, there is nobody they would rather portray their most famous character. Apparently, Naughty Dog is on board with the casting of Tom Holland. Although the fans of the video game are not fully on board with the casting choice, it appears that the game studio behind the game is in full support of the casting choice. According to Kurt Margenau, the co-lead director of Uncharted 4: A Thief's End and Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, he's very excited to see what Tom Holland can bring to the character as a younger version of PlayStation's leading man. The two of us aren't directly involved in that, and I'm excited to see Tom Holland's take on the character. I don't know anything other than the trailers I've seen, said Margenau. I'm just excited. It's like, it's finally here. We have Uncharted on the big screen, and it's not going to change directors again. And it's not going to be in development for any longer. And I think Tom Holland is a great choice. And they're pulling inspiration from the games, so it's really satisfying to see that get to be on the big screen. Honestly, if you ask me, he is more excited for the film release than who is actually in the movie. Which makes sense because, as we mentioned earlier, the film was announced way back in 2010, but the film has been stuck in the development hell. The film has changed writers, changed directors, and has gone back into development several times. Finally, after 12 long years of this film being made, we finally get to see it. So, to be fair, if I was Margenau, I too would be excited to finally just see this film, regardless of who is in it. At this point, Millie Bobby Brown could be playing Nathan Drake, and I think Margenau would be excited for the film to finally come out. But at the same time, what was Margenau supposed to say? I hate that Tom Holland got the cast as Nathan Drake. I too am upset at the terrible casting choice. That was clearly made just to sell this film to an audience that would never see this film unless Tom Holland was in it. Obviously, Margenau could never say that, even if that is how he feels. But on the other hand, he could also be happy with the casting like he has publicly stated. But obviously, we will likely never know if he is genuinely happy with the casting of Tom Holland or not, but we hope that he crushes his role and brings Uncharted into the mainstream. What took so long to get this film off the ground? As we mentioned earlier, this film took forever to get off the ground. The film was announced way back in 2010 and is finally getting released now in 2020. So what happened? What kept this film on the ground for so long, and why is it finally coming out? Let's take a look. The film went through a slew of writers and directors coming in to save the project, just to change the direction of the film and then abandon the project months later to pursue different work. The studio went through a writer and director change roughly 13 times over 10 years, and after a final regrouping hoping in 2019, Sony finally found their golden goose in Ruben Fletcher as the director and Art Markham and Matt Holloway as the writers. The issue with this film was that Sony knew that this game had a ton of fans waiting to see the film, and if they rushed a film and it turned out to be terrible, then they could risk the future of not only a potentially future film franchise, but the rest of the video game franchise, which at the time of the movie's announcement had not even announced its third game yet. So as hard as it was for fans to wait this long to see a film, if they had gotten the film way back in 2010, we may not have the 5 games that have been released so far in the franchise. And I think that the fans would take the 5 games over a rushed film back in 2010. Think about it. How many video game projects have been rushed only to completely derail a franchise? Fans of the games may not be totally on board with Tom Holland casting, but I'm sure they're totally on board with the unrushed and more polished product they hope to be getting with this film. Will the Uncharted film finally break the video game curse? As many of you watching this probably know, the adaptation of a video game into a film does not have an amazing track record. For example, the original Mortal Kombat films are some of the worst movies of all time. Not to mention the absolutely garbage take on the Assassin's Creed franchise, completely destroying the legacy of one of the best video game franchises of all time. There's a reason that most video games are not made into films, and it's because the mediums do not perfectly align, and writers and directors work hard to make them align. It's like trying to stuff a square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't work, and nobody wants to see it. But yet, Hollywood refuses to let this dream die. But will Uncharted finally break the curse? As much as I want to say yes, I'm still cautiously optimistic. While I do think that Uncharted has what it takes to finally produce a great Hollywood blockbuster based on a video game franchise, I am worried this film only has the one thing in mind, and it's profit. It seems that Sony waited to release this film on purpose, and that purpose was to wait until the video games had finished and collected a diehard fan base, so that they could make a film based on each game. While this first game is actually a prequel to the original game, that most likely means that we will be getting a film sequel based on the first title in the series, then following sequels for the next 3 games in the Nathan Drake portion of the franchise, then a spin-off film surrounding the 5th game in the series called The Lost Legacy. It seems like Sony sees this project as nothing but a cash cow, but I could be wrong, and honestly I hope I am. I hope I'm wrong, and like the video games, we get a fantastic line of films that are true to the games, while also being unique and cinematically brilliant. I wish nothing for the best for this franchise, as I loved the games. But I'm not going to be putting all my eggs in one basket just yet. That's all we've got for you guys today on the channel. Thank you all so much for watching. What do you think of Tom Holland's casting as Nathan Drake? Are you excited for the new Uncharted film? Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you all once again, and we will see you in the next video.